RWBY Volume 8 has just finished airing well over a month ago, and I am now getting around to reviewing it because there was a lot for me to unpack. I wasn't sure about the things I hated, the things I liked, or the things I really loved. And I can't really talk about specific things without getting into spoilers, so from here on out, this review will have spoilers, so don't say I didn't warn you. So, Volume 8 starts off where Volume 7 leaves off, where General Ironwood has left the city of Mantle behind, and they have to defend themselves from Salem and her grim army that has just appeared. So, our heroes, who are now fugitives in the eyes of General Ironwood and the Atlas military, have to find out a way to both defend the city of Mantle as well as figure out a way to stop Salem and her forces. So, before I get into the more spoilery details I want to get into, I'm going to be discussing the more simple details that I can about any show or movie or whatever. So, as the show has progressed on, it looks better and better every volume. And Volume 8 looks amazing. There's a lot more details packed into every scene, but it comes at the cost of something: the action scenes. The action scenes are really slow. They're not as slow or awful as 4 and especially Volume 5, but the action scenes are still pretty cool to watch. They have unique locations and the characters really show off their cool abilities they can use. One of my favorites is a scene where Jean, Yang, and Ren are on these cool bikes and they're riding along this mountain terrain esque area where a lot of Grimm are popping out of the ground because they're trying to get Oscar back from this flying Grimm that snatched him up that can talk. More on that later. And just, cool locations, cool fight scenes, and a lot of interesting things they do with those. They are nowhere near as awful as Volume 5's action scenes. That volume just makes me sick. I hate it with a passion. And I mentioned the slow action scenes because from Volumes 1 through 3, they were fast and they were exciting and they were really fun to watch. Those are the best fight scenes in the show from 1 through 3. 4 and 5 were slow, and 5 especially was awful. But 6 and 7 and especially 8 really pick it up and give us some fun action scenes and really cool locations. The music, like always, is kick-ass and it really adds a lot to these action scenes. This goes to both the composed score as well as the soundtrack, which is sung by Casey D. Williams, who I have to say is amazing. I love all the music they do for the show. The soundtrack is amazing, and I want to see more of it. And my favorite song especially is the final song, which is sung during the credits of the final episode, which is about Penny feeling like a girl finally, like a real human girl. It's sad, it's emotional, and it's really cool. So now I'm going to move on into the more negative aspects of the volume. So the characters. I like all of these characters really. The main characters is what I'm talking about. Team RWBY and what's left of Team Juniper. And the antagonists and whatnot. So I like them all. They have their own unique fighting styles, they have their own characteristics that distinct them from one another. But in this volume especially, they've been bogged down and reduced to what their cause is. So one half of this team of heroes wants to protect the city of Mantle from the Grimm, and the other half wants to look at the bigger picture and bring the Colosseum up to the sky so the city of Mantle has a place to be. And this really divides the characters a lot, and they're like, oh no, you're wrong, no, you're wrong. And that got kind of annoying. But it only happens for probably the first third of this volume, and anything after that they're just more all like, boo-hoo, we're sad now. Which I can get that they're sad because ever since the end of volume 3, everyone's emotions have been in a downward spiral. So I get that, but that's all they do. They don't seem happy anymore. They can't even have a moment to just, find a little joke or something. And there are some jokes in this volume, but, for the most part, everyone's just sad and depressed. And I get it, but it gets annoying after a while. The biggest example I can talk about for this is Nora and Ren in this volume. So they end up splitting up. Nora goes to help RWBY and that side of the team get the arena up in the sky, while Ren goes to help the city of Mantle defend itself from the Grimm. So they get trapped in a door, Nora and her team. So she ends up wanting to smash through the door, but they're like, oh no, don't do that. So she ends up getting electrocuted and she has a bunch of scars on her body now. And she goes, oh no, I'm the dim-witted, clumsy girl who, always wants to smash through stuff without thinking. That's my only characteristic. So no, Ren, I don't want to talk to you anymore in that way. We can't be together because I have to find out who I am on my own without being attached to someone. And I was thinking they already had their cute little arc in Volume 4. I thought they would have, stayed together at least. So that was kind of annoying, and it takes away from the bigger story going on, Salem wanting to wreck shit up. And so when moments like that happen, and I don't mind moments like that, but this was presented so poorly that it made me really uninterested, and I didn't care about it at all. I wanted to get back to the bigger stuff happening, like the Faunus Grim hybrid called the Hound. And I mentioned this because it's interesting, but that's all it is. It's interesting, and it's not brought up ever again after it dies. So Salem brings out this creation of hers, and she says, "Go get the girl," meaning Penny, because she's the Winter Maiden now, so I want her to come to me and we can go open the vault. So when the heroes find out that it's actually a Faunus underneath this Grim that's been talking, they get all scared. And not only is it a Faunus inside of a Grim, but it's also a Faunus that has silver eyes. So that's really cool. That's something interesting, and that's all they ever do with it. No one mentions it after they kill it, and it makes me think that the writers had this idea and they threw it in, and they don't know what to do with it at the moment, so they just did that, and they're going to probably present it further on in the later volumes. Which is kind of annoying because why just do that and have no one mention it ever again? It's like Ruby and her silver eyes. They mentioned that she's had silver eyes throughout the series, and it takes until Volume 6 for her to finally ask questions about how to use them and whatnot. Especially after Volume 3, when she uses them and she doesn't ask Uncle Crow what was up with the silver eyes and whatnot. It's stupid. At least the villains are consistent in being interesting, like General Ironwood. I've always liked him as a character because he always wanted to do things with his big military. And in this volume, he is as threatening as ever. He kills people left and right. He is ready to drop a nuke on the city of Mantle if Team RWBY and the others don't bring Penny into him. He kills Jacques while he's in prison, and thank God for that, because I hated that character, and he is the reason why Volume 7 was such a shit show at the end. And he's just a badass dude, General Ironwood. As much of an asshole as he was to everyone on the show, at this point in the show, at least, he was cool. I liked him, and he was a threatening villain. But I think it's better that he stays dead, because at the end of the volume, the city of Atlas falls to, the city of Mantle or whatever, and it ends up being flooded. So he's most likely dead, and I think it's better that he stays dead, because if he were to come back, then I'm pretty sure he would just be doing the same threats, and that'd be kind of boring and repetitive. Hazel is at least pretty cool this time around. He ends up being able to punch Oscar a bunch because Oz is in Oscar, and he wants to kill Oz, and he wants to figure out how to activate the lamp. But he ends up turning around and being a good guy, helping everyone escape the big giant whale thing that Salem has, which is pretty cool. I like this giant whale Grim that Salem has that holds all the forces and whatnot. It's pretty cool. So Salem is threatening. I really like Salem. I like her backstory that was brought to us in Volume 6. And 7 and 8, she's still very threatening, and I think the voice actress does a good job making her seem threatening. And she has cool powers, and we really get to see a lot of them this time around. But Cinder steals the show, which how much of a bitch she can be. Wow. I mean, Jessica Nigri does a great job voice acting her. She sounds threatening, she looks threatening, and she just is a threat. She betrays Neo and throws her at the hole where our heroes use the Staff of Creation to create this cool place where everyone can escape through portals and get to the vacuo, I think it's called, so they can be safe. She basically lets Watts burn in the control room, and she lies to Salem about the last wish being used on the lamp, so it's basically useless for another 100 years. And Salem buys it, so I think Cinder is becoming more and more of the main antagonist of the series, and I think it's pretty obvious because back in Volume 6, we see Oz asks the lamp, "How can I kill Salem?" And they say, "You can't kill Salem." And the gods can't kill Salem, but if the relics are all brought together, the gods will come back and judge humanity, see if they're worthy or not of living. And the only way Salem can be killed is if she understands the meaning of life and death. So I think that's going to happen at the end of the show, and then Oz is going to die, and they're going to stop Salem at the end, and they're going to stop Cinder especially because she's becoming more and more of an evil biatch. But I really want to see that progression. I want to see her betray Salem even further. So the final note I want to make on this is that I'm excited to see where they take Volume 9, especially since Team RWBY, Neo, and John fell through the weird area in which that the people were escaping to Vacuo, and they're on this like beach island like area with a tree, and you know they're not dead because why would they kill off those characters, and why would we have to follow Nora, Ren, Winter, and I guess that's it as our main characters from then on. But I want to see where that goes. And this was a very emotional ending. Oh yeah, and Penny died by the way, and to give Winter the maiden powers of Winter. I thought that was sad to see Penny die again, and I think she's actually dead this time, and she can't be brought back no matter what. And although Penny being brought back in Volume 7 kind of ruined the emotional distraught from RWBY from Volume 3, seeing Penny die the first time, I think this was another nice send off for that character, a more peaceful death that she wanted so she can give Winter the maiden powers and not Salem. But, anyways, that's all there is for Volume 8. That's all the negatives and the positives I had to say. I like the characters. I like to see their progression through the story. I like the story and the action scenes. Those are what's drawn me back to this show. Because Volume 5 initially killed it for me, but 6, 7, and 8 did a great job of drawing me back in. I'm giving RWBY Volume 8 a B-. It does some pretty cool stuff. It looks great. There's some cool action scenes. Some of them are slow, but in the end, it's still an interesting story that keeps drawing me in, and I can't wait to see where they go with Volume 9 and so on. So, what did you think of RWBY Volume 8 if you've seen it? Tell me what you thought about it in the comments below, and I'll be back with more enjoyable content like this. Bye.